Before European arrival, Brazil was inhabited by numerous indigenous peoples with diverse cultures, languages, and social organizations. Archaeological evidence suggests human presence dating back at least 11,000 years. The population is estimated to have been between 2 to 5 million people belonging to hundreds of distinct tribes and linguistic groups. The major indigenous groups included the Tupi-speaking peoples along the coast, the G speakers in the Central Highlands, and various Amazonian tribes in the rainforest regions. These societies ranged from nomadic hunter-gatherers to semi-sedentary agricultural communities. They developed sophisticated knowledge of their environments, cultivating crops like manioc, maize, and beans, while maintaining complex spiritual beliefs and social structures. Pedro Álvares Cabral claimed Brazil for Portugal in 1500, initially believing it to be an island. The territory was named after Brazilwood, a valuable dyewood that became the first major export. Unlike Spanish America's immediate focus on gold and silver, early Portuguese colonization emphasized extractive industries and agricultural development. The colonial economy initially relied on Brazilwood extraction, but by the 1530s, sugar cultivation became dominant. The Portuguese established the captaincy system, dividing the territory into hereditary land grants. São Vicente and Pernambuco became the most successful early settlements. Sugar production transformed Brazil into Portugal's most valuable colony. Large plantations dominated the northeast, particularly in Bahia and Pernambuco. This agricultural system depended heavily on enslaved labor, first attempting to use indigenous peoples, then increasingly relying on Africans. The Atlantic slave trade brought an estimated 4 to 5 million Africans to Brazil between the 16th and 19th centuries, making it the largest recipient of enslaved Africans in the Americas. This created a complex racial hierarchy and cultural mixing that profoundly shaped Brazilian society. Throughout the 17th century, Portuguese settlers expanded inland through bandeirantes, expeditions from São Paulo. These expeditions pushed Brazil's borders far beyond the original Treaty of Tordesillas line, eventually leading to the Treaty of Madrid that established Brazil's approximate modern boundaries. The discovery of gold in Minas Gerais in the 1690s revolutionized the colony. The gold rush attracted massive migration from Portugal and other Brazilian regions, shifting the economic center from the sugar-producing northeast to the mining regions of the interior. This period also saw the rise of Baroque art and architecture, exemplified in cities like Ouro Preto. The 18th century brought administrative reforms, including the creation of the Viceroyalty of Brazil in 1763, with Rio de Janeiro as capital. Several unsuccessful independence movements emerged, including the Inconfidência Mineira, led by Tiradentes, who became a national martyr. When Napoleon invaded Portugal in 1807, the Portuguese royal family fled to Brazil, making Rio de Janeiro the capital of the Portuguese Empire. This unprecedented move elevated Brazil's status and accelerated its path toward independence. Dom Pedro I, son of Portuguese King João VI, declared Brazilian independence on September 7, 1822, becoming the country's first emperor. Unlike most Latin American independence movements, Brazil's transition was relatively peaceful and maintained monarchical government. The early empire faced significant challenges including regional revolts, economic instability, and the controversial continuation of slavery. Dom Pedro I abdicated in 1831, leaving his 5-year-old son as heir. During the Regency period, Brazil experienced considerable political turmoil and regional rebellions, including the Cabinagem in Para, the Baleada in Maranhão, and the Farroupilha Revolution in Rio Grande do Sul. These conflicts reflected tensions between centralization and federalism, as well as social and economic grievances. Dom Pedro II assumed power in 1840 at age 14 and ruled until 1889. His reign brought political stability, economic growth, and cultural development. Brazil expanded its territory, fought in the Paraguayan War, and gradually modernized with railroads, telegraph lines, and urban improvements. The abolition of slavery occurred gradually through a series of laws. The Lei do Ventre Livre freed children born to enslaved women, the Lei dos Sexagenários freed slaves over 60, and finally the Lei Áurea completely abolished slavery, making Brazil the last country in the Americas to do so. Abolition, combined with the Catholic Church's opposition to the monarchy and military discontent, weakened imperial support and led to the Republican coup of 1889. The proclamation of the Republic on November 15, 1889, established a federal system modeled after the United States Constitution. However, the Republic of Velha was dominated by coffee oligarchies from São Paulo and cattle ranchers from Minas Gerais in an arrangement known as Café com Leite politics. Coffee became Brazil's dominant export, accounting for over 50% of world production by 1900. This coffee boom financed infrastructure development and attracted massive European immigration, particularly to São Paulo. Between 1870 to 1930, over 4 million immigrants arrived, dramatically changing Brazil's demographic composition. Industrialization began modestly during this period, accelerated by World War I when imports were restricted. São Paulo emerged as the industrial center, while Rio de Janeiro remained the political and cultural capital. The First Republic faced numerous challenges including the Canudos War, vaccine revolt, and various tenant movements in the 1920s. These conflicts reflected tensions between modernity and tradition, urban and rural interests, and demands for political participation. The 1929 global economic crisis severely impacted coffee exports, undermining the oligarchic system and setting the stage for political revolution. Getúlio Vargas came to power through the Revolution of 1930, ending the First Republic. His rule, lasting until 1945 with a brief interruption, transformed Brazil into a modern, centralized state. In 1937, Vargas established the Estado Novo, an authoritarian regime inspired by European fascism. Despite its dictatorial nature, this period saw significant social and economic reforms including labor laws, social security, and state-led industrialization. Vargas promoted Brazilian nationalism, cultural unity, and economic modernization. He created Petrobras, expanded education, and implemented policies that integrated previously marginalized groups into national society. During World War II, Brazil initially remained neutral but eventually joined the Allies in 1942, sending troops to fight in Italy. The war experience strengthened democratic aspirations and contributed to Vargas's downfall in 1945. The Second Republic restored democratic institutions and civil liberties. Vargas returned to power through democratic elections in 1950, but committed suicide in 1954 amid political crisis. President Juscelino Kubitschek promoted rapid economic growth through his 50 years and 5 inches program, emphasizing industrialization and infrastructure development. His most ambitious project was building Brasilia, the new federal capital inaugurated in 1960. This period saw the rise of bossa nova music, cinema novo film movement, and other cultural innovations that projected Brazilian creativity internationally. The early 1960s brought political instability under Presidents Jânio Quadros and João Goulart. Goulart's leftist policies, including land reform and nationalization proposals, alarmed conservative sectors and the military, leading to the 1964 coup. The military regime, lasting 21 years, implemented authoritarian rule while pursuing rapid economic modernization. The government suspended political rights, censored media, and persecuted opposition groups. The late 1960s and early 1970s saw remarkable economic growth averaging 10% annually, dubbed the Brazilian miracle. However, this growth was accompanied by increasing authoritarianism, torture, and human rights violations, particularly during the most repressive period. The 1973 oil crisis ended the economic boom, leading to debt crisis, inflation, and popular demands for democratization. The military gradually implemented a controlled transition to democracy through the Abertura process. The indirect election of Tancredo Neves in 1985 marked the end of military rule. Though Neves died before taking office and Vice President José Sarney assumed the presidency. The 1988 Constitution restored full democratic rights and decentralized power to states and municipalities. Brazil struggled with hyperinflation throughout the 1980s and early 1990s until the Real Plan achieved monetary stability. This economic success helped Fernando Henrique Cardoso win the presidency twice. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's presidency marked the rise of the Workers' Party and implementation of significant social programs like Bolsa Familia, which reduced poverty and inequality. Brazil's economy boomed due to commodity exports to China, and the country gained international prominence. Dilma Rousseff, Lula's successor, faced economic recession and massive corruption scandals, particularly involving Petrobras. She was impeached in 2016, leading to Michel Temer's interim presidency. Jair Bolsonaro's presidency brought polarization, environmental concerns regarding the Amazon, and challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva returned to power in 2023 after a narrow electoral victory. Contemporary Brazil faces challenges including inequality, corruption, environmental protection, and political polarization, while maintaining its position as Latin America's largest economy and a major global player in agriculture, manufacturing, and natural resources. Brazil's history reflects the complex interplay of indigenous, African, and European influences that created a unique multicultural society. From colonial sugar plantations to modern industrial economy, from monarchy to republic to democracy, Brazil has undergone remarkable transformations while maintaining cultural continuity. Today, as the world's fifth-largest country by population and territory, Brazil continues to grapple with historical legacies while pursuing development, social justice, and environmental sustainability in the 21st century.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more engaging historical content.